What's up, everybody? Welcome to iOS 3 Raw TV. Well, today it's going to be a follow-up video to my video that I just recently posted about the cancer-causing agents that are in the foods and how I've been tracking this for several years. And, you know, without a doubt, here's one thing that I hate. I hate how people in general don't know anything about the subject. They don't know anything about the topic at all. What they can do is, in a specific subject, right? So they don't know anything about it whatsoever, but they find this one little thing they can latch onto. For instance, people that don't know anything about working out are like, oh, I gotta take in high protein. They don't know what that means. They don't know if it means 100 grams, 500 grams, 2 grams. They have no idea what high protein means, but they hear that one thing and they latch onto it and they use it in sentences and in phrases when they're talking to somebody, not really knowing what they're talking about or that it doesn't even fit with what they're talking about. Now, that being said, there is this phrase that pops up over and over again, and people love to throw this out. And it's ignorant people that love to throw it out. I'm going to break it down today. So the next time someone says this to you, you can bitch slap them back with this information to let them know that they're a fucking idiot and they don't know what they're talking about. And that is, correlation doesn't prove causation, right? And I've seen this thing. So many people have said this, and I'm like, you don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. So they were saying basically the foods that quote unquote I was saying possibly cause cancer, getting cancer doesn't mean that you got it from the foods. And I was like, that's the dumbest fucking statement, because if you watch the video, which I asked you to do, and read what it says, the scientists have proven links, data, and studies saying that these things cause cancer. Okay, it doesn't mean everybody gets cancer, but what it means is these things cause cancer more often than they don't, and it's proven. So therefore, they have proven that the cause of some cancers from people are correlated back to these foods. And it's enough for them to actually publish it in the different journals of medicine. Okay, so the phrase that somebody threw out there, and it was one of these smug people, and I'm like, you don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. So we're gonna do some background on where that comes from. And I'm gonna teach you right now why that phrase is thrown around the wrong way. People utilize it wrong all the time, but why the phrase is wrong. Now, first of all, go through a little bit of history here. So basically it says, I pulled this, I wanted to pull this up because I wanted to read specifically the history of where that phrase came from. And the history of that phrase was from math. It was never meant to be applied to anything but mathematics. Just like IFYM, right? It was never meant to be anything more than in a forum, but it got blown up and became this big thing. This phrase has done the same thing. So correlation doesn't imply causation. It's pretty much the main thing that people throw out there because they think there's nothing to fight back or argue back about it, right? So pay attention to this, right? So they talk in this about the correlation phase from any kind of thing that you're trying to prove, right? Has become so common and so irritating that minor backlash has now ensued against the rhetoric, if not the concept. No correlation does not imply causation, but it sure as hell proves a hint, okay? So that's the whole point, right? So something that was used in mathematics, when it rolls over to what we're talking about with cancer-causing foods, doesn't apply. But you can even break that down even further. So, first of all, there are correlations all around us. I'm not even going to go with those notes because fuck it, I just want to go from the hip. Fuck it. So here's the problem. Many people don't understand what that means. Correlation doesn't prove causation. They're saying that just because they were eating this food doesn't mean that they got cancer. Now that can be true. However, if 5,000 people were studied eating that food and 5,000 people got the same kind of cancer, now there's a link, okay? Nothing can ever be proven, meaning as soon as you pick up the food, you get cancer, right? As soon as you look at the food, you get cancer. Everybody's bodies fight back different. However, if 5,000 people eat that food and 5,000 get cancer and there are 5,000 in the study, there is now a correlation that shows that that's what that is. Scientists did that. They studied all these foods, all these preservatives, they studied all of this stuff. And they said the stuff that's in these foods, right, specific preservatives, they cause cancer, okay, in humans. So if you're ingesting these things, there is a good chance you're going to get cancer. That was the whole point. I didn't say if you take this, you get cancer. I said if you take this, there's a good chance you're going to get cancer, and that's what scientists are saying. Now, some people, they're completely living in their own world. They don't understand fucking anything. They don't think anything's going to happen to them. Here's the deal. If they said, look, you can't have a Pop-Tart for the rest of your life because you might get cancer from it, I would be like, okay, I'm not going to eat the Pop-Tart. Other people are like, fuck it. There are people that says right on the pack of cigarettes, you're going to get lung cancer. They don't care. They smoke anyways. It's not going to happen to me. My thing is I have seen cancer enough. I've seen my father with it. I've seen my mother with it. I've seen my grandmother. I've seen my father and my grandmother both die from it. I've seen my mother living with it. Not eating a Pop-Tart would be the least I could do to not get cancer. If that was proven to give fucking people cancer and that ingredient is in the Pop-Tart. It's very simple. Not a fucking hard choice for me, but it seems to be, very hard for other people. Now, getting back on the correlation doesn't prove causation. Here's the problem that I have. The mathematics that they created that term for, it works to a certain point with variables. Now, here's the problem that I have. I can say the stove is hot, right? And I have this scar on my hand, and the stove burned my hand and caused that scar. And people go, well, Jerry, just because the stove is hot doesn't mean that that caused the burn in your hand. There's no correlation between a hot stove in your hand unless you put it on it, right? So they go, see, it doesn't prove it. And I go, well, here's the deal. The stove is hot. I put my hand on it. And there's still a variable that might not leave a scar on my hand. But as I put my hand on the stove, it blisters, it burns. My body then reacts by creating that scar. Now I have a permanent scar, okay? So the cause of that scar was the heat from the stove that burned my hand that my body reacted to by creating the scar. Would that scar have happened if I never touched the stove? No. So therefore, did the stove cause it? Well, technically my body did, but there are links as to how that happened. There are a series of events and a series of links that cause that scar. Now, when you trace it back, you can go, well, if the stove wasn't on and the stove wasn't hot and he touched it, it wouldn't cause that scar. So therefore, does the hot stove cause the scar? Yes and no at the same time. That's where people are getting tripped up. They think either yes or no. Yes, because if the stove wasn't on, it wasn't hot, and you touched it, it would have been fine. However, it was hot and it was on and you didn't touch it, you'd still be fine. Two different situations, right? But now the stove is on, you touched it, you burned yourself. The burn turned into a scar, and now you have a scar. So what happened? Is the stove responsible? Is the scar responsible? I never said who was responsible. Just like I never said that the foods were responsible for giving you cancer. I said these foods contain a cancer-causing agent, right? But people are so quick to they want to argue, they want to fight back, they want to be the ones that are right, they want to prove you to be stupid. And then they say a stupid statement like that, I'm like, do you even understand what you're talking about? Because if you look at the foods, do the foods sitting there on the shelf cause cancer? No. Do the foods technically have that ingredient? When you look at them, do they cause cancer? No. You have to go to the store, you have to buy them, right? You have to then ingest them, right? You then have to have some kind of immune system response that your body gets cancer from eating those foods, right? So is it the foods that gave you cancer? Well, no, it's the ingredient that's in the foods, but is it the food that gave you cancer? The food was the carrier, was the shuttle, it's how you got into your body. So yes, the food itself that contained that ingredient gave you cancer. Now let's go one step further. Let's take that ingredient out of the food. There's no chance you're gonna get cancer at all then. Not from a food, not from eating that food. It's not carrying anything in it. So technically, yeah, there's a correlation. When they say these things cause cancer, 100% of the time, they cause cancer. They have put them in the foods, right? And now we go, shit, cancer is on the rise like crazy. Numbers are through the roof. Well, can you go back and say the cause of that cancer is the food? Yeah, because the scientists already said what's in the food causes cancer. Therefore, if you're eating that food, doesn't mean you will get it. But it does mean if you get it, there is a link between something that you're doing and the cancer that you have, and more than likely the link is in the food. You get a certain type of cancer. Now let's say you're using certain types of lotion, you're using certain types of fragrances, colognes, out in the sun with no sunblock, you have all these different things. They're all correlated to causing cancer. All of them. So it's not just the foods, it's all these other things that have correlation to causing cancer due to the ingredients that are in them. If you remove those ingredients, these things no longer cause cancer. But as long as that ingredient is in there and has been proven by science and proven by doctors, there is a correlation that causes cancer, and it has links that you can trace back to where it came from and what's in those I don't want to say ingredients, but those different things like food, fragrances, lotions, etc. Whatever those products are, they contain something that causes cancer, and the scientists said so. Now, the problem that I have is everybody's like, follow the science, Jerry. Science, science, science. Scientists know we need data, studies. All the data and studies are out there. And there's a correlation, and the fucking scientists are saying there's a correlation. But yet we have these people that do the dumb shit like, Jerry, correlation doesn't prove causation. And they don't even know what the fuck that means. Like, it frustrates me because what happens is that becomes the go-to thing because that's science, bro. Scientists say that. That's a scientific saying, right? So as long as science says that, you're wrong, I'm right because I know science. No, you fucking learned a phrase. You parroted a phrase like a fucking talking parrot. That's what you did, right? You did something that a fucking monkey could probably do. You could probably do sign language to say fucking correlation doesn't prove causation. Monkeys can do that shit, okay? So you did what a monkey can do pretty much. And you're out there trying to tell me I don't understand it. At least I know where it comes from. At least I know how it's applied. And I also understand that causation, correlation, and all the links in between are a fucking roadmap. Here's your destination. This is where you started. Every stop along the way is part of that. And what does that do? It leaves a map to trace back to the trail to where it began. And that's correlation. Problem is people don't take the time to think. Critical thinking, thing of the past. Doesn't happen anymore. Logical thinking, doesn't happen. Reasoning, doesn't happen. Observation, doesn't happen. And real research, paying attention to what the fuck's going on, doesn't happen. What they do is they Google real quick, and if they can't find it on Google, like, sure, I fucking research. No, you didn't, you Googled. Okay, just because you can't find it on fucking Google because you're putting in the wrong keywords, or you don't know what the fuck you're doing, does not mean that it doesn't fucking exist. Okay, real research, you're not using Google. You may use Google, you may use Bing, DuckDuckGo, you go out there and talk to other people, you wind up, sending emails to other people, you wind up reading books, reading literature, all these different things to get information, not just go Google and find one thing and run with it. Like you learn one thing, 3 words, correlation doesn't, 4 words, prove correlation, right? Correlation doesn't prove causation, all these fucking C's. Bottom line is, if you don't understand what you're talking about, yeah, you can throw a phrase out there that might shut some people down, but you're gonna come up against somebody like me who actually went and understood this stuff, pays attention to it, knows how it's supposed to be applied, and also knows that causation are links. There are links in a chain all the way from one end to the other, right? That's how it works. So on one end of the chain, you have where you began with the products. On the other end of the chain, you have the cancer. And when you follow those links, they lead to each other. That's correlation. That's causation. And the scientists say so. So be aware, guys, we're gonna come up for another video. It's not gonna be this one because we're already at like 12 minutes. Where I'm gonna put down some of these foods, right? There were 1,200 foods I identified, but there are even more foods that contain more than just these couple preservatives that are 100% absolutely identified being linked to cancer, that the FDA just trusts the companies. Saying, is this thing safe? Yeah, cool, okay, they said it's safe, it's cool. Without having any research behind it or anything whatsoever knowing about what's in it. And these companies, one after another, they don't even have to put what's actually in the products, the food products, because it's not a food. They can just say it's preservatives, natural and unnatural, natural and added preservatives. Added preservatives don't mean natural preservatives. So you could have added preservatives, which are this thing, and it says preservatives on the label. You don't even know what that means. That's this toxic thing that causes cancer. They put in the food to make sure that sits on the shelf for a lot longer period of time. You don't realize that that's what that says, that word is hiding what's really in it. Preservatives. What does that mean? Right? Fucking formaldehyde is a preservative. Like, you put formaldehyde in the food? Like, what the fuck does that mean? So be aware, truth in labeling, not a real thing anymore, guys. Trust me, there's a lot more shit in the foods that we even know about because we don't know exactly what preservatives are. We don't know which ones they are. You have to have a consumer catch place, like one of these places that came out with the list of foods and said, hey, this is the ingredient that is the preservative in these that causes cancer. Without these watch groups, we don't know shit about what's going on. It's been going on for fucking years, but they absolutely, you can see the graphs. They start adding these preservatives, cancer, straight up with it. Now, does correlation prove causation? No, but it damn well shows that there are links. And if those links aren't studied, why? Those links lead right back to the source of the problem. And those links, they get studied. They absolutely get studied, but we don't hear about it. They don't get published to places that we pay attention to it. They get just kind of shoved off to the side because major food companies spend a lot of money suppressing that shit, and we don't know it. But if you dig, it's there. But you can't go out there and do one of these dumb shits, just rambling off shit and just fucking saying shit that you don't understand what it is. Maybe check your ego at the door a little bit. Maybe really pay attention, really dig. Take some time other than when you see me post something, do a quick Google real fast, or come up with some kind of wise ass comment that you think is going to shut me down, because I'm the worst one with that. Because you say some stupid shit like that to me, I already know what the fuck's going on. But if I don't, I will go research for a fucking week before I make a video about it. Make sure I know what the fuck is going on. Sorry guys, we ran out of room on here again. I gotta fix this car. But anyways, BULLSHT@gmail.com. Leave comments down below, but don't fight. BULLSHT.com is a blog. It's to check this shit out for yourself, bicep. And we are out.